Okay, so I always like to start with what's happening to the economy because that dictates the buying power, right, of buyers. And it also, I mean, for foreign buyers out there, what is happening to the Hawaii economy will also kind of dictate their view. And if the economy is doing well, they know that home values are going to increase, and so they'll have an incentive, to purchase property. So anyway, so jobs are up in the economy. You got about what is that? Like about 150,000 jobs that were lost during the pandemic. So they're back up, but unfortunately, the level it has not yet reached that pre-pandemic level. And actually, well, Hawaii is one of those really deeply hurt by the pandemic. I think jobs there are still 11% below the pre-pandemic level. And I think that, of course, has to do with the fact that Hawaii is very much dependent on the travel tourism industry. Now, we did see, though, that, well, net domestic migration, again, continued to fall. To me, that was quite surprising. I thought that a lot of people went there, but it's good we have Catherine from New Jersey, right, contributing to the net positive migration in Hawaii. But one thing positive, though, was that net international migration picked up in 2021. So this is data from the U.S. Census Bureau. It's been positive, but there's been a decline. The number of people moving into Hawaii from abroad has trended downwards. And then 2020, practically it's zero. But in 2021, that rebounded again to about 1,000 people. So, that's great. That's an indicator that, at least that international flow of people and travel is starting to recover in Hawaii. Unfortunately, like many markets similar to the US, and I guess I can get feedback if this is true or not, but this is what the data is telling us, that there hasn't been a lot of housing construction in Hawaii. So since that during the time of prior to the Great Recession, when you had about 8,000 to 10,000 homes being constructed on an annual basis, you're just at about 2,000. Now it's trending at about 35 to 4,000. But that is about just a tenth of the jobs that are being created in Hawaii. So I think supply is very tight. I don't know. So, if there's some policy that you guys could promote, or maybe Leonard has money to lend, certainly funding for construction is just a very tight market out there. And with that, I just picked this up from your website. You can see that for most of the counties, County of Hawaii, nearly 20% price growth, Maui and Oahu, but except for Kauai, I'm not really sure what's happening here. But I think because of that constraint also, right? I think there's a little supply. So that is also constraining the level of sales. So right now, sales are down on an aggregate basis by about 2.8%. But county by county, you have very sharp drops in Hawaii, Kauai, and Maui. And same is true for condominiums, although Patrick was raising a concern here about the impact of the lending standards for, that new lending form for condominiums. Of course, that just started, but right now, the data isn't showing that yet. You're still seeing a 26% year-over-year growth in your condominiums. Foreign buyer purchases, this is the US level. So they've been, the level of foreign buyer purchases in dollar terms in all the 50 states has trended downwards. A lot of factors account for this. So the dollar volume of foreign buyer purchases peaked in 2017, 150 billion going into the US residential market. Again, as I said, this is the 50 states and Washington, DC. But after that, the level has been going down. You saw the capital constraints, capital outflow constraints on Chinese money flowing out of China mainland. And also Patrick was mentioning, right, that there were kind of new standards in Canada. So the Chinese would first park their money in Canada. And so maybe in our data, we were seeing a lot of Canadian buyers, but that probably was coming from China. But so that was one factor. And then during 2018, 2019, you also had the US-China trade war. That seems so long ago, but that was the big thing before the pandemic hit, and everyone was worried that the global economy was going to go into a recession. So the global economy did slow down, but it didn't go into a downturn. And it took the pandemic in 2020 to bring the global economy into a contraction. But with swift monetary policy, central banks could lower the rates, as Leonard already discussed. Rates went down, so we didn't go into a long recession that happened during 2009, 2010. But still, the pandemic and later on in 2020 that impacted foreign buyer purchases. Of course, the main thing really that impacted your foreign buyer purchases was people couldn't travel, right? Although when we do ask the survey, some people are still able to buy their property without really physically going there, and they could just have wired the money. But the pandemic affected travel, and that was just what we saw in the data. Where are they going? Well, Florida is still number one. About 1 in 5 foreign buyers will go to Florida, and then California, Texas, other states here. So I don't see Hawaii here. I think whenever I look at the data, it's probably less than 1% or less than 2% of foreign buyers would go to the state of Hawaii. But I have not seen in the past 10 years Hawaii coming up yet into the top 10 markets for foreign buyers. Nationally in the US, so the main buyers are Canada, and then Mexico, China, but China did drop in 2020. Their share really fell from about 16% to, I think, what is that, about 8%. I can't see the last row there on this PowerPoint. But here are the main foreign buyers. So really Canada, Mexico, China, India, the UK. Japan, though, is coming in as a foreign buyer. So, Japan has very close ties to Hawaii. So I think that's one area, that's one opportunity for the Hawaii market in terms of attracting foreign buyers, and certainly, Australia, right, and the Asian economies, even China. So, I thought I'd take a look more deeply into what's happening into Hawaii's market. And so here, I just got data from the Department of Homeland Security showing which are the countries which are the countries with the largest source of immigrants into Hawaii. And when I say immigrants, these are the people who have been issued your permanent residency card or your green card, or they've been approved for. These are people who have been approved for naturalization, right? So they may have been in Hawaii already for several years. I'm not quite familiar how many years you have to be in Hawaii to be approved for to be a naturalized citizen. But these are the numbers. So Asia, you had about 2,700 in 2020. Main source are really Asians, and I was surprised. Philippines was number one. So I know a lot of Filipinos live in Hawaii, but I was surprised. A lot of people who got naturalized, they were from the Philippines, so that means they had already immigrated to Hawaii, and then China, and then Japan, Korea. So those are your main people from Asia, and then Vietnam, and then Oceania would be Australia. Then down the list, but really it's anywhere from around the world, and so whenever you have people there and they have relatives or friends back in another country, that's a connection, right? There's already a connection there. So if you're trying to attract for foreign buyers, so it's easier to kind of have your referral and your contact first with the residents who are already in Hawaii. And I think this gives a very good indication of who those foreigners are in Hawaii. And certainly Hawaii is a melting pot. Haven't been to Hawaii, but it's a melting pot. Now, when we dig deeper into the NAR surveys, and this is data from 2016 to 2021, and I combined the data just because of the small sample, there's not enough data for just a year, but if I combine 5 years of data from the survey that we do nationally, so most of Hawaii's buyers really live abroad. It's a bit high. I think nationally, when I looked at our survey, about half would live abroad. The buyers who buy property live abroad, and then half already reside in that state. So they could be recent immigrants, or they are there on a temporary visa. Either they're a diplomat, they're working, they're a student. But in the case of Hawaii, yeah, most buyers live abroad. I guess a lot more. So maybe for the Hawaii agents, there could be a lot more effort to reach out to folks who are abroad, either perhaps through social media. But again, if the people already in Hawaii have some friends coming from abroad, so that's one way already, right? That you could establish your contact there with the people who live abroad. That's the connection. People who already live in the state. Who are the top foreign buyers from Hawaii going into Hawaii? Canada and Japan. So Patrick had mentioned this, and China. So those are the three main buyers there. Now, we asked the question, where was your foreign buyer, right? So the real estate agent or the realtor, I think they would know where the foreign buyer is, from where the money is being wired from, especially if 82% of the buyers live abroad. Well, if the money is being wired from Canada, of course, as Patrick said, the money could have stayed first in Canada and then it's being wired into Hawaii. So perhaps this is maybe take this number here with some grain of salt, but certainly, these are the three main groups of people purchasing property into the Hawaii market. And here, though, the Philippines, no, just 2%. Not there, but mostly you also have from Asia and Australia, and then from Europe you have Germany and France, Switzerland, and then a big unknown box here. What's the median purchase price? Well, first of all, 72% of your foreign buyers pay cash, and that makes sense, right? If they're coming from abroad, if as I said, 80% of the buyers live abroad, well, they're wiring the money, right? And they're likely, paying all cash. So 72% of foreign buyers paid all cash. The median price, it was highest for your Chinese buyers, at least over this 5-year period, 1.25 million for the Chinese, Koreans 875, Japanese buyers around, and Canadian buyers, But of course, these prices reflect, the value of property in Hawaii, right? Especially if you're in Honolulu, well, you're paying $1 million, So this seem very high relative to the US. Like the US, the median purchase price is just around about 350,000. Of course, properties are not as expensive there if you go to Phoenix or if you go to, some other states. So 83% of Hawaii's foreign buyers intend to use the property for a vacation or to rent out. Again, so 83% are buying from abroad. So the data is indicating they're just buying the property for vacation. They're not living there, but they want to use it when they come for vacation, and then when they're not there, to rent it out. And because of that, a lot of them are also purchasing condominiums and co-ops. I guess makes sense, right? That if you're not there, well, then at least there's somebody who's looking after your condominium, you're paying your condo fees. But with the new regulations on condos, you might see some impact therefore on your foreign buyers, right? So that might have an impact there, just because you have a higher share of foreign buyers purchasing condos. So something to watch out for in the case of foreign buyers. And then just a slide here that shows that, not every purchase, of course, will become successful. And if you're an agent, at least you have an understanding of, well, why didn't the client purchase a property? What happened? Well, 1 in 5 will say, I couldn't find, by the way, these are all the reasons, right? That there could be several reasons. Maybe they couldn't find the property, it was financing, it was cost, but I'm just getting a distribution of all the responses. Essentially, what's happened, what's showing here is that they couldn't find a property to purchase, and that ties up with the tight market conditions that I had spoken about at the beginning, and cost. And then they couldn't obtain financing, probably for those people who were already residing and they couldn't obtain a mortgage financing, but if they're paying cash, that shouldn't be a problem, although 9% said they couldn't move the money. But essentially, it's the fact that, that they're finding it hard to find a property, and then either they couldn't afford it. So as an agent, I think these are your two main issues, that you need to help the buyer address, or that you need to help your buyer with. Not a lot on your, well, for now, not a lot on exchange rate yet, right? Or condo fees. Somehow they were not that an issue. Anyway, this just gives you an understanding of the issues why the sale didn't push through. And where do you get your contacts? I mean, no secret here, it would be personal contacts, right? That's that's the best source, or personal contact. It was either a friend or a relative or a previous client. But website here, website and either not paid or a paid ad, that's about 17%. And as I said, considering the fact that 80% of Hawaii's foreign buyers live abroad, so certainly, they're first looking at the website, and so that's the first point of contact, right? I guess develop your website, develop your social media if you want to reach those buyers who are living abroad. And some of you here may be in commercial real estate. So commercial real estate really picked up in 2021. This is data from Real Capital Analytics that shows the cross-border flows for the acquisition of US commercial property of 2.5 million or higher. So in 2020, again, you see that downturn here in 2018, 19, and then 2020, but that picked up in 2021, about a 49% growth there. Top markets. So I'm not seeing Hawaii here anymore. I just want to present the data. I wish I could see Hawaii here, but it's not coming up in the list of markets published by Real Capital Analytics. But who are the top foreign buyers? Again, you got Canada, Singapore, Korea, Israel, China, Japan. So lots of Asian buyers, right? And of course, Hawaii is very close to Asia. So again, I think that push towards Asian buyers, could be something that, your membership could look at or could push for. So it's not that there's a lack of Asian buyers. It's just that somehow they're not coming into the Hawaii market. And this is a survey of our commercial members at NAR. So, you have, again, this shows here that the dollar volume of purchases that were facilitated by NAR commercial members rose from $2 billion to 4.8. So mirroring that trend of an increase in commercial transactions in the large commercial market, or the 2.5 or more million market. For our NAR members, their market is a bit different. So their markets are mostly Latin America and then Canada again. So, but these are the main countries that our commercial foreign buyers worked with in 2021. Now you saw, I don't know if you can see the bottom of the slide, China wasn't there. Used to be that China was there, but probably because of the COVID, our commercial members did not report any transaction from China. Just want to end with 2 slides on the outlook. We're really seeing very strong growth in the commercial market. So multifamily market, multifamily and the industrial market have been the strongest markets since the pandemic, at least in the US. Vacancy rates are just about 5%. Asking rents, the average was 7.8%, but asking rents are about 12% now for multifamily. So there was a surge in demand. It's normalized a bit now, but it's still strong. And the absorption of multifamily rentals is still outpacing the deliveries that are coming into the market. And then no surprise for industrial rents. Oh, they're now growing by about 10%. Really a very strong market. Even retail was a surprise. You got about 25 million square feet of retail space absorbed since the pandemic. Now, nationally for the U.S., the absorption has been in your neighborhood malls, power centers, your big malls and closed malls are still down. The office market is really the one that's still continuing to suffer, but and really the decline there in the office market is in your gateway cities of New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Chicago. But we did see some 1 million square feet already being absorbed in San Francisco and in San Jose. And properties are also being absorbed in Boston. So pretty strong market generally. And then for existing home sales, so, as you know, interest rates are going up. We forecast that they'll probably hit 4.5% by the end of the year. So the jobs report just came out today, very strong job growth of about 600,000 jobs. So the Federal Reserve is always trying to look at 2 things. Is the economy growing? And then is inflation picking up? Well, if the economy is strong enough to withstand an uptick in interest rates so that the Fed can control inflation, they're going to do that. And so today's numbers gave an indication that the economy is strong enough to withstand additional interest rate hikes. And so, of course, inflation is now 7.5%, and housing market prices are still rising by about 15% year over year. Of course, it's a volatile environment. It's an interesting time. We don't know how the Ukraine-Russia crisis is going to impact oil prices, and if oil prices go up, And that has repercussions on the global economy in terms of output, employment. You could have a case of higher inflation, and then the global economy contracting. We don't want stagflation, right? So which means that even if inflation is picking up, the Fed might say, well, hold on, I'm not going to raise interest rates yet because I don't want to contribute. We don't want the US economy to contribute to a downturn. Maybe that could happen. So we don't know. We're still watching the data, but at least today's data show that the US economy is still growing strongly. But anyway, barring a development where the US-Ukraine crisis is going to have that serious global impact on demand and economic growth. So again, interest rates are likely going to go up by about 4.5%. So home sales will fall, to about a little bit below 6 million. But because of these tight supply conditions, prices are not likely to fall. We will see a slower rate of appreciation in home prices, but don't expect them to fall because supply is so tight. You saw the data in the case of Hawaii. Nationally in the US, inventory is now down to just below 2 months of supply. So we really, what the market really needs is about 5 to 6 months of supply. There's so many issues that that have to be addressed to increase supply. Labor supply is certainly one of them, but right now, you have fewer jobs. You have fewer job seekers out there than the job openings. And we need about 500,000 more homes every year to address the housing shortage, because we had about 6.8 million homes of backlog of shortage over the past 20 years. So tremendous amount of undersupply that will not be corrected overnight. So again, bottom line is a minor, modest drop in home prices, in home sales, and a modest appreciation, not a decline in your home prices. And with that, thank you very much, and I will take questions.
Thank you, Gay, for all that information. I'm sure everybody's trying to process all of that, but we do have time for Q&A, and Wendy is at the helm, and if anybody has a question, they can go ahead and type it into our Q&A box or in our chat, and she'll go ahead and read that out for us. Wendy, do we have anything?
No, we don't have any questions at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess everybody is just keen and on it, so I want to thank again our sponsors, Leonard and Catherine, for coming in and sponsoring our event today. And of course, Gay, we so appreciate your time all the way out there in cold Washington, D.C. But I'm sure the people of Hawaii will be taking good care of your daughter while she's here.
Yes.
So thank you again. And
we did have one question, Crystal. Did you
we did?
still take that?
One just came in.
Okay, go ahead, Wendy.
Okay, it says, what do you expect or project for 2022 residential by foreign buyers?
So in general, I think 2022 is going to be a better market than 2021. Just because we're past COVID, right? Of course, we still have the Omicron, but people are vaccinated. There's natural immunity. There's some travel already going on. If I look, I didn't present it here, but if you look at the travel data, it's picking up. Still not to the level that we had prior to the pandemic, but it's trending upwards. So I think in general, if you will compare 2022 to 2021, we're going to see a better market for foreign buyers.
Oh, wonderful. Positive. I like that.
Yeah, I'm not just saying that. I mean, I do think, it's positive.
Awesome.
Again, barring any major, it's so much volatile, right? What's happening now. But I think, you know, I'm not a politician, but at least now, you know, there are talks like, you know, for humanitarian reasons, you know, they're going to give safely passage to people to get out. So I think that's a very positive development.
Okay, we actually have another one. How do you force foreign investment trends in the US in 2022?
Ooh, how do you force? Unfortunately, you can't force people to invest, right? But you know what? Let me say this: with you know, the U.S. is a safe place to invest, and we just saw that, right? So Leonard, you know this, right? So mortgage rates were rising, but now they fell. The Freddie Mac 30-year rate fell because why? People are now moving into bonds and treasuries, and you know, they think that the US is a safe place to invest. So I think that is true for you know, real estate as well. You know, the tensions are in Europe. The United States is, you know, a continent away, great place to invest in the property. Oh, not force, foresee. How do you foresee foreign investment trend? Yeah, so I think I already mentioned it. I think it's positive because the US is a safe place to invest given you know, what's happening out there. Have there been any changes to immigration policies in the US with the current administration? You know, I can only say that we're not seeing the same stance, the same policy stance we had before during the time of President Trump. Of course, each administration will have a policy. I think right now there's just I guess more or it's been quiet. Let me just say for now, it's been quiet on the immigration side. Not a lot of noise out there.
Okay, that looks like that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful. It looks like we had a very good discussion going there, and that's what we're here for. That's why we gather. So I want to thank you again, Gay, and thank you again, Leonard and Catherine, and for Patrick for being our MC. Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
President. Yay!
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thanks, Patrick, Crystal, and Wendy. And hey, nice to meet you, Leonard and Catherine. I think I've met Leonard. I think there was one event, right, where you had Leonard also.
Leonard's always with us.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Gay. Thank you very much. It was really informative, and everybody have a fantastic Aloha Friday.
Aloha Friday. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.